So even before starting the preparation last year, I had attempted 2 or 3 mock tests of phase one, and I saw that I was scoring quite well in QRE. In fact, enough to carry me very close to the overall cutoff. So I decided that only doing GA to some degrees, to some depth, would help me clear the sectional cutoff and act as a fail-safe in case anything goes wrong in QRE.
Nobody said it to you that it means RBI is not your first choice because you are not getting that kind of placement in the college. That's why you are coming for RBI.
Actually, I prefaced it with my second point. I'm just saying it here for the sake of structure.
Simpler one is inflation and WPI, CPI, which actually overlaps with the preparation of ESI topics also.
Yeah.
So
And now I'm
how?
more comfortable because of that.
Yes, yes, yes. Hello everyone, very welcome to iExam RBI. I am Chandraprakash Joshi. I am pleased to welcome Tanay Gaurav, who has secured All India Rank 1 in RBI Grade B exam 2024. Tanay, very welcome to iExam RBI and many, many congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
So it's great chatting with you, Tanay. Today, I would like to take this discussion in the reverse order, starting from interview, then to phase one preparation, where we will go a little deeper for the serious aspirant preparation help, and then we'll tell about your journey in phase one. So before I go deeper into it, if anything you have to start because that is really, really very, very interesting journey you have last year. You were not allowed to appear in the interview because of the cutoff. You missed by 8 days. And this year again you have not only made to the interview but you made rank 1. So first I would like to hear from you how this kind of perseverance, how this kind of motivation, what keeps you going through this preparation journey.
So one interesting anecdote that I would like to start with is that I was pretty scared going into the interview about
Mhm.
facing the question about how I missed the eligibility last year and how I still applied without knowing that I was not even eligible. But
Yeah.
fortunately, Chairman Sir took it very positively. In the beginning of the interview itself, he
Mhm.
said that Tanay, we know that you came to RBI last year, but you could not make it to this room. So we
Mhm.
admire your perseverance and we hope you'll do well this year. So that was a huge, huge confidence booster for me. And the rest of the interview went pretty well, not in no small part because of this. So this is an interesting anecdote to start with.
Okay,
Uh,
so your interview started on a very, very good note, as you said. So I always believe this, and I have experienced this, that before we start speaking, we start communicating, right? So that happens in the interview room the moment you enter. I heard about you from Sushil Ragde sir. So Sushil sir mentioned about you that you have been in touch with him, regularly getting some guidance. I am amazed to see your marks, which I will come into the discussion. But before that, I am coming to this preparation of interview, how it happens. It cannot be a coincidence. And what is the guidance you got from Sushil sir?
Sure. So most of the guidance that I actually got from Sushil sir was last year because this year I barely had 2 weeks. So
Okay.
I did not have much time to interact. Still, I had one phone call with sir
Mm-hmm.
specifically discussing this issue and how to handle it in the interview, as well
Mm-hmm.
as my general preparation and how to approach the interview and so on. But last year, since I got a lot of time, I not only had mock interview with iExam B, but I also connected with sir about building my biodata. He recommended to me certain courses that I should do and read up on certain subjects so that I would be able to showcase my knowledge to the interview panel, given that I am a fresher candidate with no work experience. So it's always better to have something to talk to and present yourself well. Apart from that, sir was also very gracious in giving his time to explaining to me the mannerisms, the kind of attitude that I should keep, and the kind of questions that I should expect being from IIT and being a fresher candidate who has left the placement opportunities in my college to pursue a competitive exams like this.
So you graduated in 2022, correct?
2023, sir.
23. Okay, okay. That's why you missed it last year. And which college?
Sir, IIT Kharagpur.
You are from IIT Kharagpur, chemical engineer.
Yes, sir.
So I heard about you have a very interesting conversation in the interview, but I would like to hear from you, and then we will talk because I want to give an idea where we are going into this discussion. You have very interesting marks. I went to your mark sheet: 61.25 in paper one of ESI, 66 in English descriptive, and 67.25 in your paper three FM, and then 65 marks out of 75 in the interview, making a total of 259.5, all India rank 1, and where the overall cutoff is 226.75. So in interview, again, I'm going to the interview. As I said, we are going to the reverse order. 65 marks out of 75, a very very good score in all paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, and also in interview. What happened in the interview, how this mind makeup, because as you said, it started on the good note before you entered in the interview room. So how it happened before the interview and during the interview?
So actually, I was only one of the 4 candidates on that day
Mhm.
at the RBI Center for interview, which also meant that I got a lot of time with the panel, 40 minutes plus. That's how long my interview went. It covered all the dimensions that one could imagine from an interview of this caliber. I was asked questions on economy and finance.
So what was
I
the
was
first
asked
question, Tanay, if I can interrupt here? What is the first question? How it
So the
started?
first question was about cryptocurrency and CBDC.
See, so the first remark chairman made about your last year
Yes, sir.
cutoff and you could not finally come to the interview. So after that, he directly jumped into cryptocurrency.
No, sir did not ask. I think one of the panel members, sir, passed the baton to one of the panel members, and
Hmm.
he started
What was the
asking.
question on cryptocurrency?
Uh, he asked that since I was from a technical background, so
Hmm.
explain cryptocurrency to us and
Hmm.
tell us that what is the state of its regulation in India and what do you think should be its future going forward.
So what was your answer? I'm interested, really interested to know.
So I described cryptocurrency as best as I understood it, a
Hmm.
form of encrypted mechanism using blockchain technology that is
Hmm.
used to record information, which can be used to also record financial transactions uh, for the purpose of a currency or a asset class.
Yeah, what was the regulation of it?
Sir, I said that while cryptocurrency is not banned in India, it is
Hmm.
something that we don't actively encourage as far as the RBI is concerned. And there is also a tax on it that is levied by the government.
So there is no regulation as such.
Yeah, so it is regulated, it is not regulated, but considered as an asset class, not a currency.
Yeah, exactly. So is there any comment on that about CBDC?
Yes, then the question went on to CBDC,
Hmm.
and the panel member actually asked me, how does CBDC try to plug in the gaps as far as cryptocurrency is concerned? So before
Hmm.
that, there was also a discussion on what are the harms of cryptocurrency based
Hmm.
on its anonymity, propensity to use it for criminal transactions, for money laundering, etc. And then he asked, how does CBDC aim to plug in these loopholes and provide an avenue for disruption and innovation in financial technology using cryptocurrency, using blockchain technology.
So in one question of cryptocurrency, there were multiple questions coming in
Yes, there
between.
were multiple follow-ups. It was a communication back and forth.
Okay, so okay, this was the first discussion about cryptocurrency, because what the idea I'm trying to give it here to all is that it is not straightforward one question and one answer. It is actually a conversation about the cryptocurrency, CBDC regulation, benefits, challenges, all that.
Yes.
Maybe a discussion of 3 4 minutes or more.
Yeah, 3 4 minutes.
Okay, then how it proceeded.
Then I think it went on to Monetary Policy Committee.
Hmm.
As you know, there was a growth slowdown in the second quarter of 5.4%, and there was a debate whether RBI should keep the interest rates constant or lower it. And
Hmm.
there was a discussion on it. And Chairman Sir was interjecting in this and asking me questions like, "What would you have done if you are in the? What would you do?" Since the
Hmm.
decision was not taken by the MPC at that point in time, so what would
Hmm.
you do if you were a part of the MPC, and asking me to justify my opinion on this?
What was your stand?
So I struck with what RBI was trying to do as far as newspaper commentary was of that period was concerned. I said that we should stick to this interest rate while keeping a neutral stance for any further developments in the economy and respond to it proactively.
You played very safe, huh?
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Then it proceeded to cryptocurrency, monetary policy discussion, and then.
Then he asked me to elaborate on it, like why was inflation still a problem that we have to compromise with our growth for this? To which I responded that vegetable prices and the other volatile components of CPI were actually driving up the inflation, while core inflation was more or less in control. And then he suggested, then should we change the CPI metrics
I was
to
about to come to that because that is the suggestion which is coming from the chief economic advisor, that
yes.
why we are keeping this food inflation into the inflation thing, which is not correct. So what was your view, and what was the discussion?
I
Yeah.
I said the same thing because this was mentioned by the chief economic advisor in the economic survey itself,
Yes.
that there
Yes.
should be some overhaul of the inflation targeting framework to remove that. Also, that day in the morning in the newspaper, there was a news that the government had set up a committee to review the metrics related to CPI, because the CPI metrics is already a decade old. So the
Yeah.
consumption basket of the middle class has changed from
Hmm.
the time when the metrics were decided. So food probably no longer has 50% weightage as far as the household budget is concerned in today's
Mhm.
economic circumstances. But in CPI, food and beverages account for 46%. So probably there is a mismatch even in the structural framework, which is used to carry out inflation targeting. So
So
I
you
used that point as
suggested,
well.
so you suggested or you agreed with the recommendation that it shall be changed. Is it?
Yeah. But
Okay.
as long as it's there, I think the RBI is right in its conduct to be hawkish on inflation, as it were.
But as I understand or as I remember, RBI is not in favor of changing the CPI matrix, correct?
I don't know particularly about that, but I think
Hmm.
the government had set up a committee at that point, and it was
Hmm.
in discussion as far as newspaper commentary was concerned. So
So,
maybe
but there was no counter argument or point from the panel side on this.
no. They said that okay, then
Okay, okay, move
yeah.
forward. Okay, then coming to the next discussion.
Then next, one of the panel members asked me about some high frequency indicators of the economy that you have been observing for the past month, to which I
Mhm.
was not able to answer in a satisfactory manner. I said
So what
that
are these high frequency indicators?
like FMCG sector,
Mhm.
automobile industry, sales, etc. So I just mentioned these two or three things, and I could not answer comprehensively. And to which they said, "Okay, let's go to the next."
So they understood that you are not very confident in this
Yes.
and move forward. Okay. Hmm. Then further.
Then the discussion, then it was the interview shifted to another panel member who started asking me the routine HR questions like, why did you make a transition from uh, technology to a finance field, and particularly RBI, and those questions of that nature.
I'll ask the answer to this, but before this, all these questions of cryptocurrency, monetary policy, inflation, and these high frequency matrix indicators, all these were asked by one panel member, or it was rotating among the panel?
Primarily by one panel member, but chairman sir was interjecting in between and asking follow-up questions to
Okay, he
this.
was asking the follow-up question. Okay, now what was the answer to this? Because this is definitely an important question. You are an engineer, a chemical engineer. So what brings you here for RBI preparation and RBI finally with the interview board now selected also?
Yeah, so my response was twofold. Firstly, I did not like the kind of placement opportunities that I was getting in my college, through my
Mhm.
college,
Mhm.
particularly the job profile. And
So
secondly,
nobody said it to you that it means RBI is not your first choice because you are not getting that kind of placement in the college. That's why you are coming for RBI.
actually, I prefaced it with my second point. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it here for the sake of structure. But
Yeah.
my main point was that since my college days, which is also true, I have
Mm.
been very interested in the Indian economy. I've also taken several majors and minor subjects of economics during my college, and RBI is something that interested me very much from those days. So I shifted once I saw that I was not getting the requisite placement opportunities in my college, particularly due to the nature of job that I wanted for myself. I shifted to RBI preparation.
Oh, so when you were in college, you have not thought of preparing for government sector. You thought of that you will take a job from the campus and will work.
I
It is
decided it in my final year that I would switch
well.
to government job
But you
preparation.
still appeared in the campus placement program, or you
No,
haven't?
I did not. Even that
Okay.
was asked by one of the panel members that what kind of placement opportunities were you getting? Did you sit for placements?
Hmm.
To which I replied that by my final year, since we have placement committee and so on,
Hmm.
they uh, we are in a position to actually know what are the kind of
Yeah.
jobs that would be we would be eligible for.
So
So I had
you were a part of the placement committee, helping the other students getting good jobs.
yeah, so I had contacts in the placement committee, and
Hmm.
from there you get to know pretty well what kind of jobs
Yes, of
you are
course.
likely to get.
Yeah, of course. Correct. So coming to this, though, maybe I don't know whether they asked it or not, but this is an obvious question here. So when you decided that you are not going to work in private sector, you are not going to participate in the campus placement, are you going to prepare for civil services?
Actually, this question was not asked of me, but
Hmm.
I was expecting it.
Yeah.
Of course, my natural choice after college was for preparing for UPSC.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I could not make it through, and I
Hmm.
had to switch to RBI examination
But
from
you
there.
graduated only a year back. So
Yes, sir.
means whether you have started preparing or not, because you are not like 5 years old graduate.
I did some preparations in my final year,
Hmm.
but that actually fell short as far as clearing the UPSC examination was concerned.
Hmm.
Also, I underestimated UPSC prelims examination. I thought that if I would prepare in a holistic manner for mains, answer writing, things of that nature, I would be easily able to cross prelims, but that was not the case. And that was a fatal mistake on my part, and so I could not clear UPSC. And then after that, I switched to RBI preparation. And of
Maybe
course,
you.
all this did not feature in the actual interview because I was not asked about
Yeah, yeah,
UPSC.
yeah. So correct. We have to make it very clear here. So some of the questions I am asking for the understanding of what is going through your preparation, how the background was there, and some what was actually asked in the interview. So in this, one question to my mind is maybe you have underestimated the preparation required for UPSC, but the way you are clearing RBI grade B, because last year your first attempt you cleared it, that was a different thing that you were not allowed to appear in the interview. But the kind of marks you were getting, I am sure last year also, otherwise you would have made the final list. And then second year again you cleared, and you cleared with All India rank 1. So if I have to comment on this, maybe you are underestimating yourself. It is not that easy.
It's possible, but as it is often said that no amount of hard work actually goes to waste. It
Hmm.
pays you in the long run. So
Yeah.
I think the case was similar for me. Uh, a lot of the skills that I acquired in course of my UPSC preparations were actually fungible into my RBI exam. So I was able to make it with barely 15-20 days of preparations even last time. So primarily because I had a good overall peripheral knowledge of all the subjects, a good hold over Indian economy and related concepts. And of
Hmm.
course, my engineering background also meant that I was good in quant reasoning and English. Also, I had developed some skills during my college. So all of that actually culminated in a happy situation in which I was able to breeze through the RBI examination even last year. And this time, of course, I put in a lot of more efforts to refine my preparations, and which resulted in good marks, as you
Yeah,
have mentioned.
absolutely, absolutely amazing performance, Tanay. You have done excellent. So coming back to the real interview, so they didn't ask much about the UPSC, but from an engineering to preparation for RBI, which you told about your interest. I have one question coming in my mind. For UPSC preparation, did you have any coaching you have taken?
I subscribed to one of the online courses,
Hmm.
but I could not follow it religiously, and most of my study was done through self-study and notes, things of
Okay.
that nature.
Okay. So now coming to the interview thing. So it must have gone around say 15-20 minutes by now.
Yes, sir.
40 minutes interview. So what further?
After that, yeah, I was asked about some of the courses that I did.
Hmm.
One of them was leadership skills course from IIM Ahmedabad that Sushil sir actually suggested me to.
To study. Oh, yeah.
Uh, and then it was AI Essentials from Google.
Hmm.
So the discussions we had around that. One of the
Hmm.
panel members also asked me that why did you not do any courses specific to finance and economy that would have directly contributed to your career or your knowledge of the subject.
Hmm.
To which my response was that I am currently pursuing my master's in economics.
Hmm.
I'm in my first semester. So apart from the preparations, this was all the time that I could afford to take out for doing courses. So,
Okay.
and then the discussion also veered towards what are the subjects in my master's in the first semester, and then deeper from there about Indian economic policy and some of those kinds of topics.
Oh, so all these discussion now went to the academic side.
Yes, sir.
And then chairman sir also asked you to go deeper into the chemical engineering
That was at the end or near the end of the interview.
near the end of the interview. So there.
Actually, during the course of this interview, climate change came into the discussion. And
Hmm.
then there was a long segment on climate change, its history from a chemical engineering perspective.
Hmm.
What are the solutions that we could look forward to in some decades to come? What are its impact on the banking sector, on central banking? So these types of discussion also went on for quite a long time.
I also want to know something about this because I have been reading in many of the speeches of RBI governors and deputy governors. And I had also few conversations about some of the friends talking in RBI that this climate change is very important. Though I am also not very sure today. In addition to the risk, because in risk management, this is also one of the risk. So, what are the other aspects of climate change which are important for banking and finance and for a central bank?
So climate change can have many cascading effects across sectors. So if we look at India's exports,
Hmm.
75% of our exports actually come from around 18 items, most of which are related to nature or the primary sector in some way, textile,
Hmm.
paddy, uh,
Hmm.
things of that nature. So
Yeah.
in case of any climate impact, which is likely for a large country, large tropical country like India, even
Hmm.
our exports are at risk, which actually make it harder
Hmm.
for the RBI to manage our forex reserves, etc. So these are some of the dimensions. Of course, the conventional risks always remain regarding frequent weather events, their impacts on infrastructure, about the quality of mortgages. Even let's say credit rating agencies, they would have
Hmm.
to substantially overhaul their credit rating in view of climate risks. There is,
Hmm.
of course, a push from the government, but also from civil society groups to disinvest from companies which are heavily into carbon heavy sectors. So
Hmm.
India still depends on coal for around half of its energy needs. So we cannot transition away even in a decade or so, given the present economic growth and the hunger for energy that we have. So even in that situation, de-risking some of the frontier technologies like carbon capture and sequestration need to be employed if we are to mitigate some of these risks from climate change.
Very interesting. So these kind of discussions happened in the interview
Yeah, it
about
did.
all these,
Yes.
no? Yeah,
All
because
these and also about green hydrogen. Chairman sir was particularly interested in green hydrogen and what are the chemical engineering related innovations that we could see in green hydrogen, from its storage to fuel cells and so on going forward.
I would also like to know the answer.
Actually, I was not able to very confidently answer it. And
Hmm.
so I said that when hydrogen is burnt, it
Hmm.
releases water vapor, which is
Hmm.
not a greenhouse gas. So that is one of the benefits, direct benefits of it as a fuel. But then I was corrected by Chairman Sir by saying that water vapor is also a greenhouse gas. And he then
Hmm.
asked me that compare water vapor with carbon dioxide based on their relative gas potential or global warming potential, to which I had no convincing answer even there. So one thing that I learned the hard way is to research your field. In my case, my education. In some most of other people's case is their work and professional sphere, very thoroughly, because chairman sir actually asked a lot of chemical engineering concepts, and while I was able to hold my own in many of those questions, but I could have done better in those segments of the interview.
You have done, I think, quite good. I do not know, maybe somebody scored 70 marks also, but 65 marks out of 75 is really very good score. And the score overall, because as I said earlier, the score in paper one, paper two, paper three, and interview everywhere you have aced it very well. So then, how the interview concluded? Then I will go to the phase two exam.
The interview concluded with chairman sir asking me core chemical engineering questions, like writing differential equations of first order, second order reaction. And then
Hmm.
when I wrote the differential equation, he asked me to draw its graph based on variable mass transfer
So he
reactant.
gave you a white sheet to write this
There was a notepad near me,
notepad.
and he
Okay.
asked me to write it then and there and show him the
And
result.
the differential equation was denoting what?
About the reaction equation of first order and second order chemical reaction.
Acha, just a basic first order and second order chemical reaction.
Yeah, then he went deeper into it. What are the solution? What would happen if we change the reaction in a way that the reactant is supplied with variable mass over time? So all these kinds of
I think
things.
this kind of equation is not very difficult for you to write, but maybe because it came out of the surprise in an
Yeah.
interview room. So sometime it happens, when we are in interview and somebody asks me 6 into 10, so then also we start thinking.
Yes, sir. I was
So
thrown slightly off balance, and
correct.
I could not. Yeah, I wrote the differential equation, but I could not answer the follow-up questions convincingly. Which then I realized after coming out of the interview hall that I could have done those if I had a cooler mind and more sort of orientation of expecting this type of question there.
That is correct. But at least you could write the questions
Yeah,
correctly,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
important also. See, like I am an agriculture graduate, and somebody asked me, in which season mutton is sown. I cannot say no. I have forgotten. I studied it 20 years back. How does it matter? So, which one is a leguminous crop? So, whether a spider is an insect or not, right? So, means these are the basic things we have studied in undergrad. I cannot say I don't remember what is stomata or what is mitochondria in a plant. So, same way for you, an engineer or anyone who is listening to the conversation. If I am an account student and somebody asks me three golden rules of the account, no, sir, I forgot. I studied long back in graduation. It won't work. So, these are the real insights, and that is how I think you got good marks, not only here, also in the written exam. So anything you want to tell more about interview? Otherwise, I'll go to the phase two.
So, actually, something that I would like to advise everyone is to
Hmm.
maintain your calm and composure. Because
Hmm.
throughout the interview, I was smiling, but during the end, when I was not able to answer the follow-up questions from my own discipline,
Hmm.
it actually hurt my morale. And I think it must have shown even in my facial expression, which was wrong on my part. I should not have stopped smiling or changed my facial expression, and I should have greeted them much more cordially. And so basically I lost my balance slightly at the end of the interview. While it's not that I was baffled or I was not able to answer, but still I should have maintained my
No.
composure at the end.
I have a counter opinion here, Tanay. Sometime you, because you felt a little off, that you are not able to answer this simple thing. So if we feel sorry, or if we start feeling very nervous because of this kind of situation, I think that is fine, because other people also feel that I am really feeling lost, or I am really feeling sad about it. Yeah, I could not answer such a simple thing. Means I shall know this, but somehow I am not able to recall. Say I'm telling you, very recently something has happened in my family, and I was not able to recall name of one of my very close relative. I know that she is wife of so and so, but I was not able to recall her name for hour. It happens. So that is the genuineness. Sorry. So I don't think there is anything wrong about it. The genuinity of your understanding of the situation and your willingness to learn also comes on your face. I think that was absolutely fine because this was a long 40 minutes interview.
Yes, sir.
You can't have the same smiling face throughout the discussion. It's
I was
fine.
also pretty mentally exhausted by the end. So I
Yeah.
think it was
Correct.
also that
Correct.
that
Correct.
contributed to.
Correct. Okay, now coming to the more important in the terms of the overall preparation, because 300 marks is the phase two. So I want to go a little deep into the discussion, and that's why I have syllabus ready in my hand. So and don't worry, this is not an exam, right? So I want to understand how you prepared. You have been preparing for UPSC, so maybe some part was easier for you, but still, for RBI, the depth is little different. So I am taking one by one ESI paper. First topic is Indian economy, where the topics of like economic history of India. No, sorry. First topic is growth and development, measurement of growth, national income, per capita income, poverty alleviation, employment generation, sustainable development, and environmental issue. So, how much depth and what are the sources?
So I covered Vivek Singh sir's book on Indian economy during my UPSC preparations, and
Hmm.
that held me in good stead when I started preparing for RBI.
Yeah.
I sat with the syllabus and I observed that 80-90% of the topics are present in Vivek Singh sir's book.
Hmm.
So I think I would have a basic understanding about the topics and be able to write reasonably good answers if I continue with that book rather than studying any new source, which would have been difficult to pick up in short span of time.
Okay. Then the next topic is Indian economy, where there is a topic which is about the economic history of India, changes in industrial and labor policy. Because when I take the class, I go a little fast in this topic. So how much deep we have to go to the history, and the next is next I will take up after this, and then sorry, the history of the economic reform since 91. So how much to go into the deep of the history of economy?
So I actually created 2-3 pager notes on each of these topics. I
Hmm.
created, I think my industrialization note was about 10 pages, in
Hmm.
which I covered in industrialization pre 1991, industrialization post 1991,
Hmm.
industrialization post 2014, since there are many policies like Make in India, uh,
Yeah.
Land Bank Portal, all those new
Hmm.
initiatives that have been promulgated by the government. So I created notes out of that by researching the topic. I also saw some online resources on these. I asked ChatGPT what are the dimensions on which questions could be asked on industrialization, and I created point-wise notes on all these topics.
What about I'm coming in between, I'll come to the detail in between. What about the use of previous year paper, mock test? Have you appeared mock test on iExam B for phase one, phase two? And we have a resource also called BPDA, because the next
Yes, sir.
discussion is coming on the Union Budget Economic Survey and connecting with the recent event in the economy. So, in all this preparation, in addition to the theory part, what you were studying, making your notes, how much was the help of the questions, MCQs also?
So for phase one, I of course appeared for mock tests,
Mm.
including on iExam B. In phase two, I did not think it would be prudent on my part to invest much time in mock tests because I was anyway comfortable in writing the answers. So I decided I would enrich my content
Mm.
and prepare material in such a way that I would be able to write questions directly in exam without brainstorming, which would give
Okay.
me more time to invest in a good introduction, good conclusion, and present all my answers in a very readable format. So for phase two, I mostly focused on researching and studying.
Researching and studying and getting all the topics in your mind. So then the topic, I think, where the coverage requires little deeper study is economic survey, union budget, monetary and fiscal policy. and then the money and fiscal market linkage with the economy, role of
Yes.
the bank and Reserve Bank of India in the development process, public finance, political economy, industrial development in India, agriculture and other sectors.
Sir, most of these topics are also related to finance.
Hmm.
So I studied it with finance, specifically from the static point of view.
Yeah.
In the examination in FM paper, I decided I would write three questions from management and one from finance because I was not very comfortable in core finance topics. When it
Hmm.
came to budget economic survey, those things I did extensively, both from objective and descriptive point of view. For descriptive, I made my own 1-2 pager notes about what are the topics that I can include from the budget and economic survey into the questions that came from different dimensions. I think there was a question this time on technological developments and related to what were announced in the budget. So for those topics, and other
So could you
reports.
answer this topic, technological advancement announced in the budget? Could you
No, I
answer?
did not. I did
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
write that because the three other questions that I wrote were directly from my prepared notes.
Hmm.
So the
Hmm.
50 actually I what I did was I sat down for I sat down with previous year questions,
Hmm.
syllabus and broad current affairs of 5 months, and I handpicked 50 topics which according to me were most probable in the examination from a descriptive point of view. And then
How did you decide these 50 topics based on the recent one, or you picked it from the syllabus and previous year papers?
previous year papers, syllabus, and of course uh, the topics that were frequently appearing in current affairs like AI,
Okay.
climate change,
Huh.
and there are certain topics which are so broad based that we can use their content in many different questions like industrialization, digitalization,
Hmm.
financial inclusion. These are topics that can be used in many different questions.
Yeah.
So I was preparing for 300 or 400 probable questions, which is actually a great amount given the limited syllabus that RBI has, at least as compared to UPSC.
UPSC, of course, of course. So the other two topics in the ESI is globalization and social structure in India. And globalization is again a very broad topic because it talks about the opening of the Indian economy. And a related topic comes in the finances, the global financial crisis. Here, the
Yes.
balance of payment, export, import, IMF, World Bank, international organizations, and international economic issues are also to be covered. And social structure is more like society, demographics, urbanization, migration, gender issues, social issues. How much time you gave into these topics?
Actually, most of these topics I had already prepared in the society section for UPSC, so I did not need much preparation.
Hmm.
I wrote down those same notes on some topics like multiculturalism,
Hmm.
urbanization and migration,
Hmm.
demographic dividend. So the questions that are more likely in the examination from a mix of economy and society point of view, I created notes out of those topics, and for the rest of the topics, I relied on my knowledge that I had acquired during UPSC.
Do you remember the questions you attempted in ESI? The
Yes,
descriptive one.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Sir, there was a question on challenges in youth unemployment,
Hmm.
which I attempted. There was a question on conflict and sustainability and conflict. So something on those lines. There was a statement by some Nobel laureate or someone, and
Hmm.
we were asked to describe and analyze. This question I was able to write pretty well because I had already prepared the topic multidimensionally. For example, the melting of the Arctic is causing a new geopolitical race to dominate those areas. The drying of the Tigris River is causing conflict in the Middle East and pushing more people towards extremism. So I had
Hmm.
multiple examples both from India and around the world, which I could include in those questions. How the lack of sustainability actually leads to conflict in social sphere, in political sphere, in economic sphere, in terms of inequality, and of course law and order challenges, etc. So that was something that I could write very very well. There was another question on national industrial corridor, which I had partially covered in my industrialization notes, sorry, in
Hmm.
infrastructure notes.
Hmm.
And so these three questions I was able to write comfortably. And there was another question on role of AI in banking or role of digitalization in banking, something on
This
those
must be in
lines.
FM, no? Role of digitalization in banking.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
So then one more question I don't recall in
Okay.
ESI,
Hmm.
but that question I generated at the moment.
Oh, that is good. Do you remember your best answer? Because this was the technique told by one of my professor. I used it in RBI Grade B exam. Our time, the exam was fully descriptive. There was no objective. So I remember my answer. That's why I'm trying to give you the clue. So I remember that the professor asked me that you shall try to attempt the best question first so that you can impress the evaluator. And the question I attempted was related to Human Development Index, and I was like so confident. I wrote it so well. Maybe I took little extra time also in writing the first answer because as I said, wanted to create a good impression. And those days we used to write in ink, not on
Oh,
computer but on a paper sheet like you do it at UPSC today. So do you remember like your best answer, or you followed this technique, or you just jumped into the question in the sequence and answered?
no, I also started with the question that I was most comfortable writing.
Hmm.
And of course, that was sustainability and conflict. I had some unique confidence in this question, not only because I had the requisite knowledge and examples, but I
Hmm.
knew that most people would not be able to write it
Hmm.
that well. Those were especially preparing purely from the RBI syllabus. So it was a
Yeah.
bit varied because nowhere in the syllabus is conflict and sustainability linked
Hmm.
as far as RBI exam is concerned. So that was a unique question, and I had great fun writing it.
Yes. So as you said, great fun writing it, because if something comes to your core, no, you start enjoying the process of writing because you get an opportunity to share your true views, whatever you believe based on whatever study you have done. So something you create in writing that answer, and actually that is
Yeah.
very, very important. How much time you took in answering this question?
I don't recall, but it must have been 15 to 20 minutes. So I did not keep tabs on the exact amount of time I was taking writing each question. So
Yeah, so slightly higher time.
slightly higher. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So coming to the English, and English, you have what? RC, Prezi writing, essay. What was your strong hand, or it was equal because your score is actually phase one, paper one, paper two, paper three is quite well distributed. So how was in paper two, and what was your preparation? How it went into the exam hall?
So my strongest part in the English paper was, of course, essay, because I had a lot of peripheral knowledge about different things. So
Hmm.
I was sure that I would be able to write on one of the topics to a very good extent, to my satisfaction. So I
Hmm.
kept essay at the last because I knew that I would be able to complete the essay in 15 minutes or even in 30 minutes. And the only thing that would be different would be the quality of the content and probably the word limit. So I started with the part that was most mechanical, which is RC. I followed it with Precis and finally the essay. And yeah, so in RC and Precis, I think there's not much to discuss. It's methodical. You follow a set procedure
Hmm.
and you write. In essay, I wrote about the mental health question, about how can organizations improve the mental health and well-being of their employees. So there was an
Hmm.
essay on that line. So I wrote
So, do
that
you
question.
think the study of management was helpful in writing this question because it is about the mental health and organizations?
Definitely it did. Because
Mhm.
in management, we study about organizational behavior,
Yeah.
and there we study it in different perspective from the point of view of individual, from the point of view of groups in the
Mm.
organization, formal and informal groups, and from the point of view of formal organizational structure and hierarchy. I also structured my essay on similar lines. So what can be done at the individual level? What could be done
Mm.
at groups level? Here I included individual, sorry, in informal groups and formal groups, and what can be done at the whole organizational level at top management, so to improve the mental health of the employees in that organization.
I'm just curious, what can be done at the informal group level to improve the mental wellness?
So first thing that can be done is counseling and dedicated mental health cells.
Hmm.
Second is building a culture of openness, transparency, and camaraderie within the organization, so that people not only connect for the sake of their jobs, but also are invested in their workspace to be able to share their feelings. And sometimes all it takes is someone to be able to vent out your feelings in a non-judgmental manner, so that they would be able to uh, uh, ease of the burden as far as the mental issues are concerned. So for this, the manager or the immediate superior needs to create a climate, and they need to be conditioned into doing
Hmm.
so that the overall work environment is very welcoming and receptive to the employees. So I wrote something on similar lines, probably something more that I could think of at the moment that I'm not able to right now.
Yeah, this is a very, very good answer. In fact, I'm try to understand this because there are certain issues or certain things which are difficult to understand. Say for me, I am telling you personally, not related to this RBI paper. For me personally, it is very difficult to understand this mental issue, especially at the workplace. But good to hear this from you. Do you feel that there is a time challenge for you in your preparation? Sorry, in your answer writing in these phase two exam?
There is, because some questions I had to generate at the moment, so
Hmm.
which required a bit of brainstorming and making a rough flowchart. So in
Hmm.
those questions, I had to invest more time than is required.
Hmm.
But there were other questions which I was well prepared for. So I was able to directly start writing, and I
Okay.
saved some time to invest where it was more needed.
So in English, you started with RC or Preci or essay?
RC followed by Presi and finally essay.
Yeah, because in essay you have to think, means how
Yes.
to write. So
And
RC is,
you never know how much time an essay would consume. So
yeah.
always completion over perfection. That is the name of the game.
This is, I want to repeat, completion over perfection. Because I'm using these words first time. I used to put it maybe I don't know what way. I always used to tell all my students that please understand in the preparation you are not going to be an economist, you are not going to be an expert on finance or account. You are going to be a journalist. Even when you are going to work in RBI, you are going to be a journalist. So your approach of preparation shall be you have to cover everything well so that there is a good balance. The ultimate aim is to crack the exam, not to become an expert. So completion over perfection, a very, very good word you have given. I will try to follow it and I will try to quote your words now in all my future discussions with the future aspirant.
Thank you.
Coming to this part little bit deeper on Prezi writing, because Prezi writing is one such thing. Most of the people think I have to read the paragraph and then take some words and lines and here and there rephrase it and write it, which Dr. Sharma, because I also hear his conversation, he is an expert in communication, and Dr. Sharma is former RBI CGM.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he keeps on telling about no, Prezi writing is not this. What was your approach?
So my approach was basically reading the Prezi and
Hmm.
simultaneously creating notes out of it in the manner that I create my own notes, which is through
Okay.
flowcharts, through mind
Hmm.
maps, and through arrow marks and writing different topics and their subtopics. And then finally, I used to mold this whole skeleton that I have created out of the Prezi in my own words to cover the word limit.
This is something new for me. So are you saying when you read the paragraph of Prezi, so you were making your notes in terms of the flowchart?
Yes, sir. Very
Oh,
short notes,
very
only
short.
a word or two. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So this flowchart strategy, have you used only in the Prezi writing or this was the strategy also during the preparation?
All throughout my preparation, all the topics that I used to study in wherever when I studied a source,
Hmm.
if it is in paragraphs, I would always make a flowchart or a mind map out of it. So whatever you want to call it, through arrow
Yeah.
marks, topics, and then there are subtopics, and then different aspects of that subtopic. So I always used to prepare all the topics in this manner. So this also helped me in writing a good essay.
So you used to do this in pen and paper or you were doing it on your laptop or
Pen
phone?
and paper.
Pen
Pen
and
and paper.
paper.
Obviously, this
So,
cannot be done on a laptop.
no, because there are mind map tools also available.
Yeah, I have never
Yeah.
used them.
So why I'm asking this? See, today if I have to do, I will do in pen and paper. But
Yeah,
sometime because you people are more friendly with the gadgets, so that's why I'm asking. So it's okay. Means it is up to the comfort level of the people. But the point I am getting here is people of today's generation also use pen and paper so extensively. That is the
yeah,
message. So absolutely fine. Coming to the questions on finance and management, you have already said you followed the strategy that finance is too complex. I have to score more by management, but still, you must have covered these topics of financial systems, which is about overall Indian financial system. There is a book I read by Uma Kapila, I think.
I've
I
heard.
don't know whether you studied or not.
No, no, I did not.
Acha, it's good that you have not studied, right? So financial system, then about financial market, and then the general topics of finance, which are risk management, derivative, financial inclusion. How did you prepare all these alternate source of finance? Yeah.
So my strategy for finance was adequacy, that I have to study as much as required to make to so that it does not so finance does not hinder my chances of selection. I would do the heavy lifting in management, and
Hmm.
finance I studied these selective topics. Like much of it was also covered in Vivek Singh sir's book on financial on the book on Indian economy. It has chapters on financial market, but that was not enough. So I researched these topics online. I
Hmm.
also studied the notes of a coaching institute, and I created notes out of these topics, whatever bare minimum I needed to write in case a question from these topics come. But my plan was always to avoid these topics, especially the core finance topics. Even you saw in the paper this time, there was a question on 81 bond. So that was it required a very detailed understanding of the subject to write it. So that was not feasible for me. So I decided that I would answer a surface level question in finance, and I would do most of the other questions from management.
So I can fairly assume you haven't prepared for the numericals in finance.
No, I haven't. In the accounting section, I have only studied the terms, their definitions, and some basic surface level details regarding asset side, liability side, what are the components. So only those things.
See, why this is very, very important to understand because many of us, so I was also a non-finance, non-management, non-business, non-accounts, non-commerce student. I was also a science graduate. You are an engineer. I was an agriculture science graduate. Had no knowledge of finance. But the point here is not only without the knowledge of finance, RBI exam can be cleared, but you can get all India rank one. That is that is something people need to understand because the most of the discussion in all our classes happens on the depth of the finance. People get really scared. Absolutely great approach, Tanay. This is the way actually one has to go. That there is no point learning everything. How much, say, one topic I am taking because now I know a little bit about it. How much in depth you went into the study of derivatives, risk management?
So risk management, I prepared from a descriptive point of view. So what are the
Hmm.
types of risks that banks face, and
Hmm.
one example or one data point for each. So that
Hmm.
was all about my preparations for risk management.
Wow.
About derivatives, I just prepared it from an objective point of view. I was not ready to write a question on derivative even in the descriptive. Of course, if
Hmm.
it would have come to it, then I would have written it. Otherwise,
Hmm.
I preferred not to do it. And
Hmm.
for MCQ part, I developed enough understanding to have recognition in the exam in the event of an MCQ question, but not too detailed knowledge to be able to express it coherently in terms of a descriptive answer.
Do
Which
you
is why I
remember?
actually chose to write on growth versus value investing,
Hmm.
because that was a topic on which ideas could be generated by thinking on different parameters. That was more doable than core finance topics for me.
What was the question? Growth versus value investing.
Yeah, there was a question on this
Can
in
you
finance.
try to explain what was the full question? Growth versus value investing.
So I don't recall the exact question, but it was that what are the parameters of growth and value investing, and what separates both? So something on these lines. So how are these two different? Maybe question on that line. I'm not able to recall the
Yeah,
question, to
because
be
I'm also
honest.
not able to connect to this. Okay, I'm coming to still. I'm taking few more questions on finance part. Do you remember DSCR?
No, I can't recall it.
It is called debt service coverage ratio.
Oh yeah, now I am able to maybe connect it.
No, why I'm
It
asking
is.
this question to you because you are a ranker, so people shall know it is not the knowledge of the finance which takes you through the RBI exam.
It must be one of those accounting ratios that we study.
So you studied three kind of ratio. What were those three kind of ratios?
Sorry, sir. This was my weakest part, and I'm unable to recall anything from
No,
this.
why I'm asking this is not to highlight the weakest part of you, but to tell you how to make to the exam and even rank one is rank one. So whatever said and done, this is something really, really great and exceptional. And it comes once you know the strategy and once you focus how to get the marks, not only just the knowledge of finance. And the RBI is not only for people those who know the finance. Do you remember the difference between three financial statement, which are balance sheet, P&L, and cash flow?
Yes, I do. I
Hmm.
have some vague idea, but I know that I had studied it during my exam. So I was in a position to attempt questions of this, but I may not have complete knowledge now.
Was there any question on ROE, ROA?
Yeah, there was one question, but I think it was in 2023, a numerical on ROA or ROI.
Uh-huh. No objective question on ROE, ROI?
Not this time, no.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, then the simpler one is inflation and WPI, CPI, which actually overlaps with the preparation of ESI topics
Yeah.
also.
And
So
now I'm
how?
more comfortable because of that.
Yes, yes, yes. So how much you went into the discussing inflation, because inflation is one of the favorite area of RBI because that is the job of the central bank. So it is more like going into understanding the Phillips curve, or how much deep you went into that. Any questions you picked up in the descriptive, any questions you find which were in the objective very difficult on this inflation, WPI, CPI. We have already discussed interview, but in the written
Yeah.
exam, was there anything?
Yeah, I studied all these topics to the absolute depth that was doable with the
Hmm.
time I had. Uh, I don't think there was a descriptive question on inflation, but
Hmm.
there must have been some objective questions that I'm unable to recall right now. But I was fairly comfortable in these topics. Even the individual metrics in for different components, the relative weightage in CPI
Hmm.
and WPI, I had memorized those as well.
You memorized those also. Okay. Okay. So not very difficult question, but you went in depth into studying
Yes,
inflation.
sir, definitely.
WPI, CPI also. Okay. Now coming to your favorite part, that is management. And with the management only, we can talk about ethics and corporate governance. You said that this was the topic you took for the paper three. And among the three papers, this is the highest score you got in paper three. Paper 3 is 67.25 marks. Most of the people score high in FM, but
Yes.
you you haven't prepared actually much for finance, which you said, and also coming up very, very obvious here. So how it went into all management, because the syllabus of management, ethics, corporate governance, communication, it is quite vast. So how did you prepare every topic? How much into detail? What kind of objective questions were there? And what kind of descriptive you picked up?
So the objective questions that generally come in RBI out of management are pretty conventional,
Hmm.
except this year where there was a shock in terms of the case study and paragraph based questions. So my
Hmm.
calculation was that I would have a 90% strike rate in management objective.
Mhm.
And in descriptive as well, I prepared all the topics that are mentioned in the syllabus to adequate depth, along with philosophers, thinkers, real life examples, anything, any data or something that can substantiate the argument better related to management. So I did for all those topics, and I was fairly certain that I would be able to write on any topic that came from management, from the syllabus, of course. But this time the calculation went a bit topsy-turvy because of the unconventional nature of questions in the objective section. The
Mm.
two marker questions were long paragraph based question. We had to deduce the answers of some of those questions based on the information given and our knowledge of management. But there were also one markers in the at the end that were pretty doable. So all in all, it was okay for me. And in the descriptive part, I wrote a question on communication. There was, I think, another question on business strategy or something that I can recall of, and one other question that I wrote, and I was fairly comfortable writing those questions.
So you said that some of the questions, two marker question, you have to deduce some information and then you have to use your knowledge. Can you recall any one question, for example?
So there was a long paragraph, and based on that, there were questions. So I don't remember the topics as well. No, I can't remember any particular question, but I think there were 3-4 paragraphs like this and questions based on them. So the
So
two
in
marker question,
yeah.
yeah. So
So
the two
in all
markers
this,
question were, yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
In all this, I am also finding out in discussing with you because there were long paragraphs. You have to read these paragraphs to do all these objective questions. Then there is a descriptive part also. So how was the time management thing in all this? Was that a challenge reading all these long paragraphs?
It was actually. So when I started off with the two marker questions, I saw that I was losing more time in those questions than was expected by me. So I
Hmm.
quickly switched and went to the back of the paper to
Yeah.
attempt the one markers first. And after that, I attempted as much as I could from the two markers questions. So that is probably the reason this year FM has not been very scoring, because the objective section is definitely something that people use to boost their score substantially in FM, but that was not the case this time.
So management and corporate governance is not a quick walk now anymore.
No, it is not. I think even in management, going forward, students should practice variety of questions, different kinds of questions, so that they would be accustomed to facing shocking questions like this in the exam. Because I have never seen management questions like this throughout my preparation.
I don't know. I don't remember the marks people were getting last year, but when I'm seeing your marks in the objective of ESI, you have 25. In
Yes.
the objective of FM, you have 30. Means
Yes, sir.
25.25, 30.25. So 5 marks more in the objective of FM paper. You are not strong in finance and you are saying management was difficult. So how
It
these
was
marks
difficult.
came? Yeah.
I think part of what helped me there was my knowledge of English and speed reading. So I was able to quickly read and comprehend the paragraphs. I
Hmm.
attempted those questions, but I was not sure of the answer in many of those. Fortunately, many of them turned out to be correct, as the marks suggest. But still, my target was above 40 in management, which is something that I achieved even last time. But this was not the case despite more
Oh,
preparation this time. So
Acha, so last year your objective score was 40 in FM paper.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting. And this time also ESI is 25.25. So
yes,
that is very obvious. Then ESI, it is more difficult to score. So
yes.
why so, and what kind of questions are coming in ESI objective part which are difficult to answer?
ESI, based on my analysis of past 3 years,
Hmm.
is heavily derived from government schemes, which I
Hmm.
prepared this year as well. But unfortunately, there were less questions from government schemes this year and more from the reports. For
Hmm.
example, the World Development Report, there were 3 or 4 questions from it. And even the
Hmm.
author of the report was asked, which was not covered in any secondary sources, because I make it a point never to read primary sources or documents. Those are very time consuming, in my opinion. So in the secondary document, the author was not mentioned. So despite studying that report to its complete depth, I was not able to answer that question. So ESI is anyway a bit harder to score than FM.
Harder to score because questions were very data driven,
Yes.
not concept driven.
No, no. Mostly data driven. It requires a
Most
lot of cramming.
lot of cramming. So, which is, yeah, which I also fairly understand beyond a point, you can't help it.
Yes, sir. I
Hmm.
agree.
But your score is quite fairly well spread. So, we have almost discussed on this part. You have been an UPSC aspirant, so I believe this corporate governance and ethics would have been easy for you.
Yeah, yeah. Ethics was easy.
So, you prepared separately or you just revise your notes?
I revised my notes from UPSC preparation.
UPSC preparation for management, going to the depth of this leadership theories, personality, communication, motivation theories. How did you prepare?
I actually had completed this syllabus of management from a YouTube channel in 2023.
Hmm.
I supplemented So I had the PPTs of that channel. It was Dr. Amit Lal, his channel. He has uploaded the entire syllabus. So I had his PPTs, and this time I added my own notes by supplementing these topics with more data, quotes, and other kinds of information that I could include in the descriptive paper. So this time my preparation was fairly comprehensive in management.
So, Tanay, we are already here for about an hour, and I have been actually deliberately going little deeper into the discussion because I thought let it be for the serious aspirant and understand the topics in detail. We are only up to the phase 2 now, still to talk about phase 1 preparation. Shall we continue another 10-15 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
So, because I don't want to overstretch also for you, I do not know how
No,
comfortable.
I'm good.
I'm good. Okay.
I'm
So
really
now
enjoying it.
enjoying it. I am also enjoying it. I am also learning it because my idea of learning from you, I am also talking to like so many students. And maybe in 1 hour, what I can get from you is going to help another hundreds of students. So that is what I am trying to do it for me. And I expect that the thousands of students, those who are going to watch it, also will get benefited. Few hundreds will definitely clear RBI grade B in future, but few will make career in something here or there. But anything which goes into a quality education actually helps you building somewhere. So that is my idea of doing this conversation in depth. Now coming to phase 1, and phase 1, uh, and I'm also adding some of my experience here. I was also, like I said, a science graduate, but I was never a UPSC aspirant. My general awareness was very, very weak. I had absolutely no idea about GA. How it went for you? Because general awareness, though it is 5 months before the exam, which is most important, but still it requires some of the basics related to banking sector, finance, something on other general awareness of maybe national park or currencies, capitals, etc. So how did you prepare? And how difficult was QRE portion? How confident you were in cracking phase 1? I have seen some of the candidates who had gone to interview and next year not able to crack phase 1. So what strategy you followed that you ensure that you crack phase 1?
Phase one is all about playing to your strengths, and my strengths were obviously QRE.
Hmm.
So even before starting the preparation last year, I had attempted 2 or 3 mock tests of phase one, and I saw that I was scoring quite well in QRE. In fact, enough to carry me very close to the overall cutoff. So I decided that only doing GA to some degrees, to some depth, would help me clear the sectional cutoff and act as a fail-safe in case anything goes wrong in QRE. So I don't have much of a strategy to share in QRE because I just attempted several mock tests and made a repository of all my mistakes and made sure not to commit those mistakes in the exam. In GA, I focused on 5 months of current affairs, but something that helped me was that I had already covered the syllabus of phase two before phase one. So I was well versed with all the basic concepts of economy and finance. I had knowledge of national parks, defense, all those kinds of things from my UPSC preparation. So I was confident that I would be able to score at least 10, 12 marks out of these topics only. So I only did current affairs, of course, from a compilation for 5 months. I highlighted important notes, but I did not focus much on the data and facts and figure because I knew that was not my strength.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, so that is very, very good comprehensive overview of the phase 1 you have given here. Exam B, most of the people come to attempt the mock test. And I'm guessing, I haven't asked you whether you attempted the mock test of exam B.
yes, sir, I did a couple of them.
Okay. So how you find it in comparison to the real exam?
Yes, the mock tests, I think I would say is a notch higher than the real exam in terms of difficulty.
Okay.
But this time, I think there was also a substantial uh, like increase in the difficulty of quant section uh, in the exam. So
Hmm.
all in all, it was manageable, or it was helpful, I would say. And in GA, I don't think mock tests actually serve a purpose, because you only have limited ability to absorb information, and you just stick to a source and cover it and then hope for the best in the examination. And QRE, of course, some practice helps. And even here, English is the low hanging fruit. I think one can easily target 25 in English. And in both my attempts, I have scored once. This time I have scored 27.5. And last time also it was about 25. So English actually substantially takes you up in terms of the overall score. And that is something people should give more attention to.
I want to stress on this point you said about GA mock tests are not really helpful beyond a point. I agree. And maybe because in our time it was a limitation, we were not having these computer-based exams. So we used to practice with the help of a book in which there were 50 mock tests. So that GA section was old. It was all useless. So I used to do a lot of QRE, means these 50 test, that book I used to have from, I think, Kiran publication. I must have done maybe 4 or 5 times because QRE question you keep on forgetting. The
Yeah.
same question, if you are attempting after 2 months, you already forget the answer. The train is running at a speed of 200 kmph or 400 kmph. So you have to understand the concept to solve it. So that thing actually helps in QRE if you practice more and more, and in GA if you study and then if you know the answer, you can do it in the exam. With one of the selected candidate this year, I was having this kind of success story, and he said to me, it was difficult to read all 80 questions in GA. How was your experience?
No, I made it a point to read the entire question paper, because you never know where favorable questions are as far as your preparation is concerned in the question paper. So
Hmm.
speed reading is very, very important, and it is
Yeah.
something that needs to be practiced beforehand, so that you can quickly skim through the question and find out the questions that you can answer. Also, looking at the options before reading the question gives a sense of familiarity to
Yes.
you, that whether you can attempt these questions or not. Something that I also followed is reading the first line of the question first, maybe first 1 or 2 lines, and then followed by the last 1 or 2 lines, and try to
Oh,
guess what is the context of the question. And
okay.
if it is completely new, something that is I'm completely oblivious to, or I never
Hmm.
heard of, then I would
Hmm.
leave that question and maybe attempt it in the second attempts, like revision. Yeah.
Okay. So you are saying that questions were really lengthy.
Yeah. What?
Oh, interesting. So then the reading speed is also very important because for GA, my strategy is also same. You must read all the 80 questions because there are very high chances you have read it somewhere, you can recall, and you shall not miss the chance. What was your score in GA?
I don't remember, but I think it is around 25 or maybe 25, 30, somewhere in that range.
Oh, only 25, 30.
Yeah,
Interesting. How was the overall score in phase one?
88.
88. So you were pretty confident on QRE.
Yeah.
QRE
So
is a good
English, I
strategy.
could, yeah, English, I was confident that I'd get above 25 any day. So
So
that
this
helped me.
this I am repeating with the second time because with one more success story I was doing. So I found that the candidate was not really good in GA. And earlier I used to say that you can score say 50, 60 in GA. But that candidate also said, sir, this is not worth spending this much time on GA. Rather, I would invest that time in phase two preparation because anyhow I can crack phase one. So because of the QRE factor, and the QRE factor is very predictable. Factor means QRE sections are very predictable. The difficulty level may be slightly here and there, but then the cutoff also goes up and down accordingly. So now coming to the QRE, so can you tell in little detail, English was your strength, but still what, how you scored in English, which topics in English you picked up first, and same in reasoning and quant?
English, I just attempted sequentially. So I
Hmm.
had no problem in terms of time or having
Okay.
difficulty attempting the questions.
Yeah.
In QRE, in quant and reasoning, I made it a point to never pick up topics like DI and puzzles in the first instance, because
Hmm.
you never know whether you'll be able to crack the code in those questions. And then a lot of time would also be consumed by the time you realize that you're not able to solve the question. So standalone questions, and questions from topics that are more doable. For example, blood relations, direction sense. These are questions. These are topics from which there cannot be much like unexpected questions. You can more or less predict the nature of questions that would come. So these are the topics that one should start with, and after attempting like 5 to 6 questions or 10 to 15 questions in reasoning or and 5 to 6 questions in quant, then one can go to the topic the questions from other topics that are slightly difficult or unpredictable.
For preparation of reasoning, because quant, you are an engineer, I am assuming you have not done any extra preparation. You must have directly gone to the mock test, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So for reasoning, have you taken any book or any guidance, coaching, YouTube video?
Nothing, sir, because I had already cracked NTSC examination in class 10th, and that
Okay.
also had a significant part of math, mental aptitude test. So I
Mm-hmm.
have been proficient in reasoning since my childhood.
Great. So this is it from my side, and I have already taken a lot of time of yours. I was also trying to understand from the point of view that how things are changing, what are the right strategies. But still, if you have anything to summarize, what are do's, what are don'ts, you must have improved from the last time to this time in your overall performance, and that's how you have made it to All India Rank 1. Anything you want to summarize?
Yeah, so something that I improved upon my last attempt was being methodical this time. So I sat down with the previous year questions, uh, did a source mapping on which topics or which chapters questions are coming more, and then decided the amount of time I'm gonna spend on each topic based on that. And at each stage of my preparation, I had pre-existing deadlines, the amount
Hmm.
of time, the kind of depth to which I would go in those topics. So this is something that really helped me ace the examination this time. Being methodical and structured is something that one should follow, irrespective of whether he's writing the RBI exam or doing anything else in life, is my opinion.
Great. So thank you, Tanay, and it's a pleasure for us, for everyone in iXambi, and for all the viewers who are going to go through this. This is going to be immensely helpful. That I can tell out of my experience. I have hardly gone this much of in-depth discussion on a public platform. So privately we keep on discussing, but today I thought let me make it on a public platform so that everybody gets a benefit of the hard work you have done and the success you have achieved. We congratulate you again on behalf of iXambi, on behalf of every viewer. You have done a great job cracking the exam. I would still consider this your first attempt because last year you are not eligible. So first attempt, All India Rank 1, flying with great colors, joining RBI at such a early stage. I wish you all the success in your professional life and all the happiness in your personal life. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. It was my pleasure. This was a great interview, and I really enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah. Thank you.